Hello everybody and welcome back to the Blossom Review. How are you? Today we're talking about Netflix's much anticipated Genie Make-A-Wish, which came out last Friday. So the idea today is to do something slightly different from usual. So first I will review the show, which will be spoiler free, and then I will try to analyze the show's main theme, and then we'll have some spoilers, of course. So you have the chapters available to you, so you can skip around as you wish. So shall we start with our review? Everybody ready? Let's do it. So Genie Make-A-Wish follows a devilish genie played by Kim Woo-bin and his newest master, Gi Ga-young, played by Suzy, a young woman living with psychopathic tendencies. The genie believes in corrupting humans through their deepest desires, but Ga-young isn't so sure about that. She then proposes a best-of-5 bet. If his claim that humans inevitably turn corrupt proves true, she will make all her wishes and then give up her life. Genie Make-A-Wish is a chaotic, wacky and loud fantasy rom-com whose narrative may be imperfect, but whose themes resound with powerful clarity. An ambitious, audacious project, Genie Make-A-Wish sometimes gets it right, sometimes gets it wrong, but it undoubtedly stands as a unique story. Genie Make-A-Wish is a rare case of a completely fantastical, farcical universe. The world building doesn't even try to be remotely realistic. The world in which Genie Make-A-Wish exists is one where angels and demons fight among the stars, where genies can be broke but amazingly fashionable, and where owls and jaguars fall in love. It seems vast and colorful and unpredictable. Its scenarios are so beyond imagination that you soon begin taking everything in at face value, because nothing, even the unimaginable, seems to be impossible. Genie Make-A-Wish dares to reshape the world we are familiar with to design its narrative, and it works for two reasons. First, establishes clear rules for its universe. That doesn't mean that these rules are always followed, but the rules are there, okay? And second, and I think most importantly, because it blends fantasy with unabashed comedy. Humor in Genie Make-A-Wish is cheeky, self-aware, and flawlessly timed. It's even theatrical. The characters seem to realize that they are mere fiction, as if they are willingly putting up a play for us to watch. Comedy then allows the fantasy to hold water, creating magic out of chaos and charm out of the ridiculous. Ironic and keen to poke fun at its own absurdities, the series often employs cheesy aesthetics and foolish sequences just to establish world building and its limits. The tone is mostly kept within these farcical boundaries, with camera work, dialogue and delivery all working in perfect sync in order to establish comedy as the heart of Genie Make-A-Wish. And of course, here we've got to praise an exceptionally talented cast whose comedy chops are always on point. To bring this universe to life, it goes without saying that Genie Make-A-Wish heavily relies on visual effects. While some scenes are a lot more convincing than others, I think the show's overall effort with VFX is commendable considering where the current industry stands. I think the show also benefits from stunning production design, which definitely helped sustain both the aesthetics and the effects as well. Putting it all together is Kim Eun-sook's script, which falters in the last 2 episodes. Surprisingly enough, narrative structure is the show's greatest weakness, let's say. So I think that the setup, the conflicts, and the rising action all work very well to establish, to convey the show's main theme and to establish excellent characterization. I think that if the style of humor of Genie Make-A-Wish is your style of humor, remember that humor is something a bit personal, so some people will enjoy it, some people won't. But I think if this is your style of humor, Genie Make-A-Wish makes for an entertaining, moving, and extremely easy watch, because it replaces a stressful melodrama with a bunch of fun characters whose journey, no matter how silly, no matter how straightforward, becomes a joy to watch. However, the story's climax and resolution are, well, a complete mess, let's say. It is super, they are super messy. Episodes 12 and 13 are at the same time too convoluted and too simplistic, relying on a sequence of events that seem convenient and contrived. Even the tone becomes overwhelmingly dark at times, with moments of graphic and heartless violence that feel incompatible with the rest of the series, with the previous installments. And yet, beyond its technical achievements or failures, Genie Make-A-Wish offers an astonishing, resounding theme. In a world that becomes ever more divisive and egocentric, Genie Make-A-Wish asks a simple question: can humans choose to be kind and altruistic, even in the face of their innermost desires? The protagonists of Genie Make-A-Wish aren't your run-of-the-mill protagonists. They aren't particularly nice people, nor do they have any desire to become so. No, this is a story about a group of selfish individuals who are offered a choice. To be more humane, they have to choose to go against their instincts. After all, to be human is to make one's own choice. Ga-young lives with an antisocial personality disorder which stops her from empathizing with others. She's a truly fascinating, complex character who navigates her inner conflicts while trying to adapt to what the world expects of her. She recognizes emotions, understands the concept of gratitude, but doesn't truly feel them. She's intelligent, confident, and very observant, but completely aloof. Through rote learning and a strict set of routines, Ga-young is able to live in society without major problems. Her morality then is artificial but effective. Meanwhile, the genie is quite literally the devil. He is arrogant, self-serving and mischievous, evil even, but also childish and simple-minded at times too. However, Ga-young never puts up with his attitude and she never lets him have his way. They are equals in strength, personality, and integrity, or lack of integrity. To the world, they are two people who aren't afraid of hurting others. And actually, they openly say so. So at first, you're led to believe that Genie Make-A-Wish works with contrasts. Our wicked protagonists are surrounded by generous individuals. But that image soon disappears to give way to a much more realistic, a much more complex portrayal of society. Except for Ga-young's grandmother and best friend and maybe a couple of the villagers, most of the villagers around Ga-young merely keep up the pretense of kindness. Before long, the prejudices and vices and cruelty of these characters begin to emerge. One by one, we witness as they lie to each other, they brag and humiliate, they mock. Even worse, they harm, they steal, and they even kill. Genie Make-A-Wish doesn't work with contrasts then, but irony. It offers a protagonist with psychopathic tendencies who chooses not to harm others, even though she's constantly judged and prejudiced against. Meanwhile, the people around her, who are supposed to be instinctively righteous and generous, just hide their selfishness and resentment inside. They allow them to fester, coming to the surface in caustic remarks, small actions, and of course in the face of 3 wishes. They don't believe they need to opt to be kind because, well, they are just ordinary people, and ordinary people are naturally nice, right? This theme becomes heartbreakingly clear in episode 11, in the tragic sequence that portrays Ga-young's death in a previous life. Back then, Ga-young was indeed kind, and the genie found it spellbinding. The genie, sure of his conviction that humans cannot choose to be altruistic in any circumstance, found Ga-young's behavior puzzling and eventually even hopeful. That is, until his hope is shattered and his belief reinforced by a profoundly symbolic and wonderfully delivered scene. With the dying Ga-young in his arms, the genie begs the hundreds of people who surround him to save her life. He's sobbing, he's in a position of complete weakness and vulnerability, and he begs wholeheartedly for someone to become his new master and use only one wish out of 3 to save the girl's life. But instead of saving her, the volunteering master asks for gold, and then more gold, and finally even more gold. As gold rains down, we see the character who is supposed to be the devil sobbing, grieving. We see a dead girl who chose to be kind even in the face of poverty, even as she was ostracized. And we see all those ordinary people, the ones who were supposed to be righteous human beings, laughing and celebrating the golden rain that falls upon them. Aren't we in a world where some people celebrate their riches while others starve to death as well? But Genie Make-A-Wish doesn't try to be completely cynical. It doesn't end on a hopeless tone as if humankind is indeed lost. It does bring our hypocrisy, our greed, and our egoism to the surface, building an entire narrative upon it. In the end, the series allows some of its characters to prove the genie wrong by choosing generosity and kindness over individual desire. Ga-young herself chooses to shed the artificiality of her morality and sincerely experience emotion in her very last wish. Altruism and empathy may seem utopian in such a selfish and arrogant society, but we can still find them. After all, they are a mere decision away. Genie Make-A-Wish is bold, humorous, and goofy. Even though it doesn't hit all the high notes, it still deserves praise for its courageous theme, its unique world building, and its extraordinary cast. While its style of humor and tone won't be everybody's cup of tea, and the narrative structure isn't in the least perfect, Genie Make-A-Wish is a story that says much in between the jokes and the visual effects. Most importantly, Genie Make-A-Wish reminds us that kindness and empathy are indeed choices, ones that we can start making this very moment. Genie Make-A-Wish is available on Netflix. Quick reminder that this review is also available on the Blossom Review, and over on Substack this week we talked about NTV's After School Doctor Autumn 2025 special, which is also available on Netflix and came out last week as well. So I'll leave all the links in the description if you guys want to give them a read. Guys, thank you so very much for being here. I really hope that you like this video and you subscribe so I can see you here every week for a new review. Take very good care of yourself. Have a lovely day today, and I'll see you very soon. Big kiss.